Hey, book club, what's up? Y'all good? I hope so, baby. Let's get into this last part of the $1 Million Destiny. I've been enjoying it. I hope y'all been enjoying it. So, hey, let's get into it. So, Abby was at home sleep when she got a late night call from Nate. She couldn't believe what Nate was telling her, and she was like, "Your wife's store, sir?" Nate told her if she had a problem with what he was telling her, he would find somebody else to handle it. Abby said she didn't have a problem with it. So the next morning, she had already taken care of 2 of Monica's stores, and now she was at the 3rd location. She went in as a customer, took an outfit to the dressing room, and placed it on the hook. She went into her bag and took out the last device that will put a fireworks show to shame. She laid on the floor, slid under the bench in the dressing room, and attached the device. When she stood up, she caught her reflection in the mirror, and all she saw was guilt. She had worked for Nate for over 10 years, and he had asked her to do a lot of things that she didn't agree with. And what he had her do that morning was enough to make her want to quit. But she learned a long time ago in her line of work that you don't question the reasoning or the actions of your employers. She smoothed out her clothes, grabbed the garments, and the associate that she saw when she opened the door, she told them that it didn't work for her. As she was leaving the store, she saw Monica, but she wasn't sure if Monica saw her because she looked so frazzled. As Monica was walking through the store, she was happy to see that there were more customers than usual. She saw men browsing suits, couples on the spa side of the store, and a nicely dressed woman walking past her on her way out. Monica told herself that she was going to have to congratulate Tabatha on the work she's been putting in to bring in more customers. Monica checked in with Roland and asked him if he was being good. He said he was on his best behavior. She asked him if Tabatha was in the back, and instead of yelling store business across the room, he walked over and let Monica know that Tabatha hadn't made it in yet, that he was the one who opened the store. Monica had a very worried look on her face, and Roland asked her if she was okay. She said that she was, even though worrying was about to start setting in. And it was the same feeling she had when she woke up that morning. She woke up feeling uneasy after calling Nate like 20 times last night. She had called and texted. She really wanted to apologize to him after the conversation that she had with Tori. She felt around for her phone to see if she had missed any calls, but she hadn't. And when she tried to call Nate again, it went straight to voicemail and the mailbox was full. Monica sat on the side of the bed talking to herself and asking whether Tim and Tori were both right about Nate changing for better. And if they were, what did that mean for her, Nate and Nathaniel? She walked into the kitchen expecting to see Tabatha eating, but she wasn't in there. So she went and knocked on her door to tell her she better hurry up before she's late for work. And she jokingly said, "You know the manager doesn't play. Don't mess around and get fired." But she didn't hear anything. So she walked into the room, looked around, no Tabatha. She walked over to the bedroom, knocked, no answer. She opened the door and Tabatha wasn't in there either. So Monica was like, well, maybe she's tired of my mouth, and finally decided to make it to work on time. Then she came back to reality, and that feeling of dread was getting heavier. So she played it off in front of Roland and said that maybe Tabatha was at IHOP. She said she was going to give her a call and tell her to get her tail to work before she really gets fired. Over there with Tori and Lewis, she was woken up by the smell of breakfast. When she opened her eyes, it took her a minute to make out the figure in front of her, and then she realized it was Lewis. He made her a full breakfast, and he even added a vase with a single tulip. Tori was surprised, and she had to think about whether or not a man had ever done anything like that for her before. When she sat up in the bed, the sheet fell off of her shoulder, and she hurried to cover herself up, and she apologized to Lewis. He was like, "It's fine. I've seen those on a woman before." She was like, I don't have on any clothes. Did we, And Lewis said that they didn't. She was very shaken up about what happened between her and Nate, and she was wasted on top of that. And he said he was not the type of guy to take advantage of a woman. He was like, it's not like I didn't want to, but that's not me. Tori apologized again. He said it was okay, and he told her to eat her breakfast before it got cold. Later on that morning, he took Tori to the bank. She was scared to go in by herself because she felt like Nate probably realized he made a huge mistake and would have the police or the SWAT team waiting on her. So she insisted that Lewis came in with her. They went in together, and the opening of her new account went a lot smoother than she thought. And even though she's no longer broke, there was a lingering feeling of dread that made her feel like there was a price to pay before she would truly feel free. But she told Lewis that she felt good. Freddie has made it back to his uncle's house. You know, that's where his mom has been staying ever since Nate bought their house from under them and had it bulldozed to the ground. You know, when Nate found out that Freddie told Lewis about him blackmailing him. So, well, this time when he made it there, the window wasn't cracked open like it was the last time, but the curtains were separated. He could see his mama laying on the bed. He started to think back to the times he would sit at the foot of his mama's bed after his dad would put his hands on her. He always wanted to protect her and take care of her. So one day, Freddie had enough, and that's when he skipped school, went home, and took a bath to his father while he was sleeping. He sat on the living room sofa for 3 hours waiting for his mom to come home. And when she walked in and saw him, she didn't scream, cry, get angry, nothing. She just looked at Freddie holding the bat covered in his father's blood. She bent down and held her hands out to Freddie so that she could take the bat. She walked to the bedroom and told Freddie to stand outside the door. A moment later, she came out, bent down, and wrapped Freddie in her arms, and she told him that everything would be all right. And he could still hear those words as he watched her from outside the bedroom window. Freddie knocked softly on the window, hoping to wake his mom because he knew that he was going to pass away. He wanted to let her know that she shouldn't feel bad for the lives he took or how he messed up their lives. He said she was a great mom who loved him with everything in her, and he just wanted the chance to give her one last hug. He reached in his pocket and pulled out all the money he had and tucked it under the grove of the window. Since she wasn't waking up, he pressed his hand against the window and said goodbye. As he was getting ready to walk off, he saw his mom move and peek towards the window. But when she saw that Freddie was still there, she closed her eyes real quick, hoping that he didn't see her. Freddie wanted to be angry with her. He wanted to know why would she ignore him when he just said that he was close to death. He wanted to break the glass and grab her by the neck and ask her how could she do him like that. But instead, he stared at his reflection in the window and slowly limped away. Over at Tabatha's, Monica was starting to get worried because she hadn't heard from Nate all day. She was starting to feel like maybe he had found out about her plan, and she knew if he did, that would ruin everything, including her. Because there's no way and no telling what Nate would do or the amount of rage that would have been running through his body. So she tried to call Tori, but she knew after the way she spoke to her that Tori probably wasn't going to answer the phone. On the last call she made to Tori, she left a message saying that she apologized and that maybe she could still give her some of the money. Then she made a call to her attorney and told her to cancel the custody suit. The attorney didn't understand why and wanted Monica to come in so that they could talk. Monica said that there was nothing to talk about. Just cancel it and I'll pay you for your time. Then the doorbell rang and it was Nate. She was so happy to see him that she wrapped her arms around him, hugging him and kissing him, telling him how much she missed him. She brought him into the house and told him that they could be as loud as they wanted because Tabatha wasn't there. Monica noticed that Nate didn't seem like himself, but she was happy to have this time with him, that she just thought maybe he was tired or had a rough day. Her plans were to make all of that go away. She took him into the bedroom, pulled him towards the bed and set him on the end of it with Nate in front of her. She started unbuttoning his shirt and unbuckling his belt. Then she asked him if he was okay. He just nodded and looked away. She proceeded to turn into a bobblehead. Nate was enjoying it, and then they went to Pound Town. Monica forgot how good he was, and she was mad at herself for withholding herself from him as a form of punishment, because she knew if she had given in, the way Nate put it down would have been enough to make her call off her own mission. She kept telling Nate how much she loved him. He wasn't responding, but he was handling business, so it really didn't bother her that much. Once they finished and Monica exploded a record number of times, she was wore out and she was starting to fall asleep. But she could hear Nate behind her saying how much he loved her and how much he wanted them to be a family. As she was drifting off to sleep, she could hear Nate saying things about proving himself to her and how important his son was to him. Monica was dang near about to count sheep, so she was agreeing with Nate even though she wasn't hearing anything he was saying. The last thing she thinks she heard was Nate telling her how hurt he was to find out that she was trying to take his son and that she was going to experience firsthand what that type of pain felt like. Monica wasn't comprehending any of that. She was smiling, blinking, saying, yeah. And the last thing she remembered saying was, I love you too, Nate. And then she was out, baby, out for the count. It was morning, and Monica jumped up out of her sleep feeling like something bad had happened last night, but she couldn't remember what it was. Then she started thinking about the night her and Nate had, and she couldn't stop smiling. She called out for him but didn't hear anything. She thought about how horrible things could have been if Nate had found out about her plan, but she was happy that things were better between them. Monica got up to check to see if Nate was in the kitchen, and as she neared Tabatha's room, she knocked lightly, hoping that her friend hadn't come in during the climax of her and Nate's wild night. When she knocked, there was no answer. She pushed the door open, only to notice that Tabatha's room was exactly how it was yesterday. And now she was really getting scared, but that meant Tabatha had never made it back. Monica went back to get her phone to see if she had any missed messages, but she didn't. She called Roland to see if he heard anything. He said he'd been calling Tabatha, but his calls kept going to voicemail. Monica reassured him that everything would be okay and that they were going to find her one way or another. So she ends the call with Roland and grabs her a glass of orange juice. As she was drinking it, she almost choked as she remembered Nate leaning towards her last night, and whatever he was saying did not feel good. But she shook it off and thought it just felt that way because she was so worried about him finding out about her plan. She turned to the news and saw a report of a rookie lady cop who was unalived outside of a Southside home. And Monica sarcastically said to herself that Freddy probably did it. And she just didn't know how right she was. She got ready to make her some coffee, but Nate's face appeared in her mind again, and she heard him saying something about Monica taking Nathaniel. Monica kept telling herself that it had to be a dream because if Nate had found out anything, she probably wouldn't be standing there right now. As she went over to the coffee pot, she saw an envelope sticking out from the corner of it. She didn't remember it being there last night. She opened it, there was a photo inside, and when she took it out, she dropped it in fear of what was on it. She just stared at the photo on the floor, hoping that when she picked it up and turned it over, that her eyes were playing tricks on her. But they weren't. It was a picture of Tabatha tied to a chair, hair all over her head, eyes filled with fear, and a bandana around her mouth. Monica knew then that Nate had found out about her plan. She knew the words that kept playing in her mind were not a bad dream. They were true. She stood there for a minute trying to remember, and as the night flooded back into her memory, she could hear Nate telling her that she was going to learn firsthand how it felt to feel what he was feeling. She knew then that Nate was the one who took Tabatha. Tabatha had been taken by Abby Kurt. As she sat bound to a chair, a blindfold over her eyes, her mouth gagged, she played back the morning when her doorbell rang, and when she went to answer it, there was a small framed, muscular woman standing there, and she said, "Tabatha Anderson?" Before Tabatha could get the words "yes, why" out of her mouth, Abby tased her, and when she woke up, it was pitch black. She could tell that she was tied to a chair by her arms and ankles, and she guesstimated that she had been there maybe 24 hours. She tried calling for help, but she knew that was slim to none since her voice was muffled by the bandana. She was hungry, had to go to the restroom, but she couldn't hold it any longer. So she just released it. She was so humiliated that she just went on herself, but she was also scared because she felt like whoever brought her there had no intentions on letting her live. So she decided that she had to at least try to escape. She started thinking back to movies where the person would rock the chair and it would break, loosening the ties. And since the chair was made of wood, she thought she had a good chance of getting out of there. So she rocked the chair side to side until it fell over. The only thing was, it didn't hit the floor. She landed on her arm and it snapped between her shoulder blade and her elbow, causing the bones to break and tear through her skin. All she could do was scream in agony and pray that someone would find her. Louis and Tori went to the condo so that she could get all of her belongings and leave everything that Monica purchased for her right at that condo. She didn't want nothing to do with Monica. After putting on her regular clothes, Louis told her that he felt like she looked better like that anyway. So Tori was like, well, hey, let's go shopping so that I can buy what I like. So they went shopping, and then Tori booked her a suite at the Mandarin Hotel downtown. She asked Louis where was he heading off to, and he said he was going home. Tori didn't think that was a good idea since Freddy hadn't been caught yet. So she told Louis that he should stay there for the night just in case. Louis agreed, but he decided to sleep on the sofa because he didn't think he could contain himself for a second time. When he woke up, he saw Tori standing in front of him with 2 carts full of food. He asked her what was all of that, and she said since he made her breakfast the other day, she thought she would return the favor. Later on that day, they ended up in Hyde Park near the big rocks that bordered the lake. Tori was saying how much she loved Chicago, and Louis told her that maybe she should stay. Tori said she had to figure out if there would be a reason for her to stick around as she looked up at Louis blushing. As Louis was standing there throwing rocks in the lake, his phone was vibrating and he saw that it was Nate. Tori wanted to know why was Nate calling Louis, and he said there was only one way to find out. When he answered the phone, Nate wanted to know if Louis knew about Monica trying to take his son. Louis told him that he found out a couple of days ago, and even though he knew that it was something Nate would want to know, Louis said he didn't fool with him nor Monica like that anymore. He said that was their business and he didn't have anything to do with it. So Nate, being Nate, he tells Louis, well, since you don't deal with me like that anymore, I think you should probably pick your daughter up from a brother's house. Louis was like, say less. Then they said their goodbyes. It's crazy how Nate feels like everybody owes him something, like he's so innocent. He doesn't see any of this like as his karma just because he finally made the decision to be a better man. Him trying to be better now has absolutely nothing to do with all the horrible things he did in the past or what he's doing right now. Nate, get on my nerves. So Monica had spent all day looking for Nate. She stopped by all of his companies, went to the headquarters. The receptionist kept saying he wasn't in. She ran past them trying to get to his office, only to be stopped and carried out by 2 guards. She went to her store and filled Roland in on her suspicions of Tabatha being missing, but that wasn't a surprise to Roland. Tabatha had been gone for about 2 days now. He needed to know what happened. Monica told him that they would figure it out and that she needed him to manage the store until they did. And she told him to call her if and when he heard from Tabatha. Now it was nighttime and Monica was leaving the police station. She had tried to file a missing persons report, but she was told unless Tabatha had been missing for a certain number of hours, they would not start an investigation. So then she made her way to Nate's house and was stopped by Abby Kurt, who told her that she wasn't allowed in and that she couldn't see little Nathaniel. Monica had a strange feeling that Nate was probably standing behind a curtain looking out the window, so she yelled up and spoke as if Nate was there and told him if he didn't call and tell her what he did, she was going to the police. She drove back to Tabatha's only to turn the corner and see all of her belongings thrown out onto the lawn. Everything she left at Nate's house, from her mattresses to her lingerie to her TVs, dishes, everything was out there. She couldn't believe her eyes. She was so thrown off that it took her a minute to see some young dudes trying to take her TV. She yelled at them to put it down and they ran off. Monica went in the house calling out for Tabatha. She searched through the house again, hoping that she was there. She went to get her phone so that she could call the police again to beg them to search for her friend. But when she picked it up, she saw that she had an incoming call and it was from Nate. Monica quickly answered the phone and asked Nate did he have Tabatha. Calmly, but with a lot of vengeance, Nate said, I asked you if you wanted to be a family, to be with me. And if not, you could leave. But you chose to lie to me. Monica asked him again if he took Tabatha and if he hurt her. Nate told Monica that he wanted her to see how it felt to have someone she cared about taken away from her. Then he told her that he needed that wedding ring back. But he did tell her that Tabatha had an accident, but she'd be fine. Monica was like, an accident? What have you done, Nate? Nate said, I told you she'll be fine, but I did more than that. He said that he had all of her stores rigged with explosives and he was holding the detonator. And all of those explosives were bought in her name. And the way that he did that was by hacking into her credit card account. He knew how bad her stores were doing, and by them being in the red, he wondered, what would the feds think? He think they probably come after her for insurance fraud. She was begging Nate not to do her like that. Nate screamed into the phone and said, "You thought you could F with me and not pay for it?" After a moment of silence, he calmed down and gave her an address where she could find him. He told her to bring the ring. He said he'll think about not destroying her stores and having her thrown in prison. Monica hung up, grabbed her purse, but when she opened the door, she was staring down the barrel of a grip with Freddy's sickly looking face looking straight at her. Freddy pushed the barrel into her forehead and forced her back into the condo. He made her sit at the kitchen counter once he realized that they were there alone. Then he took a slicer from the block on the counter. He told her that he was going to end Nate. He told her that he just heard her on the phone with him and he wanted to know where he was. He said he was only going to ask her once. Monica said she couldn't tell him, and the next thing she knew, Freddy drove that slicer right into her leg above the ankle, and Monica screamed in agony. Freddy put his hand over her mouth, slid the cleaver out, and placed it near her face and let her know that he was only going to ask her one more time. He said he wasn't there for her, but nothing would stop him from getting to Nate. Lewis went and picked up Layla like Nate told him, but Tim was confused. He didn't understand why Lewis would come and get her when Freddy hadn't been caught yet. So Lewis told him that he would have to ask Nate since he was the one who told him to get her. Once they left, Layla said that she was hungry, so they went to get something to eat. While they were eating, Layla kept eyeing Tori. She had already asked her 1,000 questions in the car. Lewis told her it wasn't polite to stare, and Layla said she was just trying to figure out if Tori was about to be his new girlfriend since he broke up with Eva. Tori was like, "Well, dang, I thought I was direct." And then Lewis' phone started ringing, and when he answered it, he could tell it was Freddy, but he sounded bad. He asked Freddy if he was good, but he let him know that he got popped. He said he was sure he wasn't going to make it, but he was trying his best to hold on until he finishes Nate. Lewis told him that he would never get that close to him. Freddy let him know that he was wrong because he was on his way to him right now and Monica was taking him. Then Lewis heard Monica scream his name. Freddy told her to shut her ass up. Lewis said, "You better not hurt her, Freddy." Freddy said, "Too late. She bleed pretty good, but she'll be alright." Lewis wanted to know, what did Freddy want? Freddy said he was on his way to Nate and he wanted Lewis to be there just like he was when Freddy took out his daddy. He told Lewis he better not call the police because if he did, he'll put Monica back into a coma. Lewis looked across the parking lot at Tori and Layla and he could see the worry in Tori's face, but he told Freddy that he would be there. Lewis got off the phone with Freddy. He raced home to get his piece. He told Tori to stay there with Layla, but Tori wasn't sure if Freddy would come there or not, so she told him that they were coming with him. Lewis doubted that Freddy would come there since he was already on his way to where Nate was, but not to take any chances, he ended up taking Tori and Layla with him. The address that Nate gave Monica was the empty strip mall where Nate said Monica could start her 4th store. It was so dark in there, Monica could barely see what was in front of her. Freddy was leaning all up against Monica's back trying to use her as support because he was getting weaker by the minute. He whispered in Monica's ear asking her where was Nate. Monica couldn't see, but she knew he was there because she saw his car when her and Freddy was walking in, and she also saw the figure of someone in the back seat, and she was hoping that was Tabatha. Freddy told Monica to call out to Nate. Monica didn't want to, but when she felt Freddy pressing the grip into her ribs, she yelled Nate's name. She heard Nate say that he was there, so Freddy told her to walk out to him. But if she made any type of movement to warn Nate he was there, he was going to take both of them out. So Monica limped out in the direction of Nate's voice. He told her that was far enough, and he asked her why was she limping. She said it didn't matter. She asked him where was Tabatha. Nate ignored her and asked her if she called the police and if she had the ring. He told her that he didn't hurt Tabatha. He said she broke her arm, but it was an accident. Monica told him that she didn't call the police. She took the ring off her finger and held it out for Nate. She saw Nate step into view, and now she was really scared of what might happen. She wanted to tell him that Freddy was there so bad, but she didn't want to take any chances to cause Nate to be hurt. So she asked him if he wanted the ring or not. Nate said he didn't. What he wanted was Monica. He asked her why couldn't she see that he had changed? Why didn't she believe him? Monica said that she chose not to believe him, and she apologized for trying to take his son. Nate said he understood her reasons after all the bad things he'd done. He wanted to know if she thought they could still fix things. They both knew that they loved each other. Monica was crying and telling him that she knew that he could love her and love her the way she always wanted him to. Nate started walking towards Monica, but then he all of a sudden stopped, and Monica could see him looking past her shoulder, and she knew then that Freddy had walked out of the darkness. Nate said, "Freddy Ford," like he wasn't even surprised to see him. Monica tells Nate that she's so sorry. Freddy told her to shut the hell up. Nate said everything was going to be okay, and Freddy asked him if that's what he thought. He told Nate today would be his last day on earth after all the mess he done to him and his family. Nate said, "You came here for me, not my wife." He told both of them that he knew he had done some really effed up things. And he looked at Monica and said that he was sorry that things had to end like that. Monica felt like Nate was accepting his demise, and she remembered him telling her that he would die for her. He told her to tell their son that he went to a place where he will always love him. And Nate closed his eyes, ready to accept whatever Freddy was gonna do to him. Monica was screaming no, trying to make it over to Nate. Freddy told her not to move. Monica was screaming for Freddy to stop, and as Freddy looked at Nate, something didn't sit right with him. And Nate opened his eyes, trying to figure out what was taking Freddy so long. Freddy said Nate was too peaceful. He didn't feel like Nate was experiencing the same pain he felt when Nate took his mama's house, or when Nate took Joni from him, or when Freddy ended Kia's life. Freddy said Nate didn't know how it felt to live without someone you loved, but he was about to show him how painful it was, and then he turned the grip on Monica. Nate told him to stop because Monica didn't have anything to do with any of that. Freddy said, "But she's the one you love. So I'm going to take her out, let you suffer the loss for a minute, and then take you out." And as Freddy started to put force on the trigger, Nate ran towards him as fast as he could. Then Freddy noticed that Monica was staring over her shoulder, and when he spun back around, Nate was about to close in on him, and Freddy let one off. Lewis had made it to the spot, and he told Tori not to move and lock the doors, and as soon as he got out, he heard the shot. He moved in slowly and saw Freddy standing over a body, and he knew it had to be Nate because he saw Monica off to the side. Lewis yelled at Freddy and told him not to move. Freddy was like, "What's up, Lewis?" He turned around to look at Lewis and saw that he was holding his peace. He was like, "Oh, you're a gangster now. You Mr. 187, huh?" Lewis asked Nate if he was okay. Nate said that he was, but Lewis could see that Nate was bleeding pretty badly from the shoulder. He asked Monica if she was okay, and besides crying heavily, she said she was good. Lewis told Freddy that he needed to put that down. He said that they could get Freddy some help. Freddy said he was past being helped. He took out a lot of people because of Nate, a lot of innocent people, just to get at that guilty motherfucker. He was standing over right then. Nate tried to reason with Freddy, but Freddy told him to shut the F up. You have nothing to say, nothing. You can't reason your way out of this. He said his own mama didn't even want anything to do with him because of who Nate turned him into. He said he walked away from his own seed and took his baby mama out, leaving his son with nobody because he knew he wasn't going to make it. Lewis was begging with Freddy to put it down, but Freddy turned to Lewis with a smile. And in that smile was that little boy that Lewis grew up with. The little boy he skipped school with, went to the movies with. The little boy he said he was going to be best friends with for life. Freddy asked Lewis if he was gonna let one off. Lewis didn't want to, but he said that he would if he had to. But he was hoping Freddy would listen to him and just give up. But then Lewis saw an energy pass over Freddy's face that seemed to darken him. Then he said, "Good, 'cause I'm ready to go." And Lewis knew that look. It was the same look Freddy had when he walked out of the room after taking his father out. The same look Freddy would have when he felt like there were no other options and he didn't care about the consequences. And at that moment, Lewis knew that Freddy was going to take Nate out. And if he didn't stop him, Freddy wasn't going to stop until Nate was 6 feet under. Lewis didn't want to do it because he loved Freddy despite all the things he'd done. But he had no other choice, and he let one off. And it struck Freddy right in the temple, and he hit the floor. All Lewis could hear was the ringing in his ears. He asked Nate and Monica if they were okay. Monica said she was fine. Then she limped over to Nate and she said that it looked like he was going to be okay. Lewis walked over and looked at his friend. He was like, "Damn it, Freddy. Why didn't you just put it down?" But Lewis knew he didn't have a choice because Freddy wasn't going to stop. After everything was over, Tabatha was taken to the hospital. She was going to need surgery. They were going to have to insert an iron rod into her bone, and she would have to be in a cast for 2 months. Nate told her that he would take care of all of her hospital bills, and he was going to pay her twice her salary as she recuperated. She looked over at Monica to see if she should accept, but Monica told her that that was between them. Tabatha agreed, but she told Nate that she still didn't trust him or like him. But since he was her best friend's husband, one day he may trick her into seeing what Monica sees in him. Nate's injury wasn't as bad. The lead tore through some ligaments, but it didn't hit any bones. He would be in a sling for a while, and he was expected to regain his strength and mobility after some physical therapy. A couple of weeks later, Abby Kurt put in her resignation. She said she couldn't do that job anymore. So Nate decided to call Lewis. They met at Nate's office and he told Lewis that he heard he didn't have a job. Lewis was a little embarrassed. He told him not at the moment, and Nate let him know that he has one now if he wants it. He wanted to hire Lewis as his personal investigator. He would have to train with Abby. He said he needed someone who was resourceful, dependable, and brave. The job paid $150,000 a year, and he asked Lewis if that sounded like something he would be interested in. And Lewis was like, "Hell yeah." He gave Nate a big hug after that. They dapped it up. Then Nate put Lewis on his first mission, and that was to convince Freddy's mama to meet him at the address Nate had given him. So one Sunday morning, Nate and Monica was setting up a nice brunch at a single family home. Nate was nervous. He didn't think Mrs. Ford would come. He knew how she felt about him. Monica wanted him to stop worrying and wait to see what happened. Just then, Lewis's SUV pulled up. The back passenger door opened and Layla ran out and started playing with Nathaniel. Tori stepped out and gave Nate a hug, and her and Monica barely spoke. Nate told Monica that she was going to have to get over whatever she had against Tori. Monica said that would take some time. Then Nate saw Lewis walking Mrs. Ford from the other side of the car. She wanted to know why was she there. Lewis smiled to Nate that he didn't tell her what was going on. Nate told Mrs. Ford that he doesn't think Freddy was always a bad person. He just felt like he put Freddy in a position that caused him to do bad things. He said Freddy took his son, but he got his son back. And he felt like in a way he took her son from her. And he knows that he can't do anything to bring Freddy back. But what he can do is fulfill one of Freddy's wishes, and that was for her to have a home. He said it was paid for, and he would take care of the maintenance and the taxes for life. He told her that she probably doesn't even want it, since it's coming from him, but he hopes she'll take the key and go look around, and if she wanted it, it's hers. Mrs. Ford looked around at everybody. She looked at Lewis. He nodded, and she nodded as well. Lewis asked her if she wanted him to go with her, and she said that she could do it on her own. They watched her slowly take the stairs up to the porch. Lewis told Nate that he was doing a good thing, and he said if she didn't want it, he'll take it. As Mrs. Ford was unlocking the door, the kids was like, "Oh, we want to see the new house too. Can we see it?" She said, "Okay, but y'all better take them shoes off first. Don't be tracking that dirt up in my new house." And they all started laughing. Monica said, "Yeah, I think she gonna take it." And that's the end of the $1 Million Destiny, y'all. Did y'all enjoy it? Did you like how it ended? Were you expecting that type of ending? Get down in the comments. Let me know, and I'll talk to y'all later.